Welcome to Gun Monkeys Nation with your hosts Josh and Anthony, coming to you from Southern Maryland.
Where we bring to you everything Gun Monkeys Nation, including interviews with small businesses and local heroes.
So sit back and enjoy the show.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to episode 3 of Gun Monkeys Nation. Here with Josh.
What's up?
As always. And today our special guest is Aaron from Firearms Training Incorporated. How's it going, Aaron?
It's definitely going.
Yeah, man. It's been a long day. It's always a long day when we come down here and after a long day of work.
And then have a long day of work tomorrow.
Yeah. And the next day.
Yep.
And the next day.
And it took a long time to get here.
Yeah.
Not from your house.
Not from like location, but it took a long time to get this set up.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
three of
For
us are
today.
available at one time.
Yeah. And Anthony to show up on time, which he didn't.
Well, I was a couple minutes late.
I'm leaving at 7 o'clock. 7:30. Oh, yeah, I'm getting in my car.
You know how it is, man. You start talking to people and...
We'd probably think something's wrong if he showed up on time.
Yeah. Like, you okay, man?
So for those who don't know Aaron, he is the owner and operator of Firearms Training Incorporated.
Yep, and that's the training company that we use at Gun Monkeys Armory. So we've known Aaron for a few years now, and we've been trying to do our best to help him get on his feet when he first started the company, and he's just been blowing up, and we love working with him, and he's a good dude. So
I don't know what
to do with my hands.
Right now. So just give us a quick background of your
Oh man.
who you are.
Yeah.
You don't have to go into any detail yet. But
Right.
Just a quick overview.
Quick overview of who I am.
Who you are.
I
Who
actually
is Aaron
I
Colby?
grew up in this area, so actually probably like 5 or 10 minutes from here, over in Port Tobacco. So I grew up here. I went to high school here. I left, joined the Marine Corps. I was in the Marine Corps for 20 years. Came back, and I didn't know what to do with my hands. So
You're working with your hands so long. You just, I get it.
Yeah.
What school did you go to?
I went to McDonough.
That's cool, man.
Someone else
I knew-
went there.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I went way after you did.
Weren't you guys in ROTC together?
Yeah.
But you guys didn't even realize it until you guys.
So actually,
Like last
we
year.
we didn't know each other in ROTC. He was a couple years older than me, and then
Anthony was a nerd.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, he was my inspiration for joining the military.
Oh, boy.
No, I'm just,
That's not what you said last time. Is that why you went to the Navy?
yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
You can't say you looked up to him.
Yeah. So you did
Not at
20
all.
years in the Marine Corps.
Yep.
Yeah. You got out and then you just got tired of not doing anything, huh? Just tired of being retired, right? That's what it is.
So tired. I'm retired.
Yeah.
All the cliches.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was. I didn't know what to do really. You spend 20 years doing something, and then
Yeah.
you get done, and
Him being told what to do.
yes, and then after you're done, you're like, well, what am I doing? I'm grown up now, like supposedly, right? And I just didn't know what to do. So my cousin hooked me up with another company, and I started teaching again. You figure the government probably spent who knows how much money
Yeah.
training me to do what I do, and then like, well, why not give back to the community and help people learn what I already know in a way that's going to help them out and be able to defend their families or themselves.
And speaking of families, you got a beautiful family
Oh my
yourself.
gosh. Yeah.
Quite large.
Yes.
No, I had 4 siblings. So you have how many kids you
I
got?
got 5 kids.
5 kids,
Five
man.
kids.
A set of twins, too.
Yeah.
So
That's-
age ranging right now is 17 to 2. It's a
That's
pretty big
about
gap.
how
but
Josh fluctuated.
It's not
about
just
that,
17 to 2. It's 17 to 2 2-year-olds.
That's
Yeah,
true.
yeah,
17 to
that's-
2 2-year-olds.
Yeah.
I know. I've had a 2-year-old. Josh has a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
Neither one of us have had 2 2-year-olds at the same time.
You can't prepare for it.
Yeah.
So I had 3 older kids before the twins, and then I had twins. There's nothing you can do to prepare yourself for that. It's a completely different experience.
You ready for another one?
No.
No.
Yeah.
Was that quick enough?
Yeah. No mas?
So I guess like prior to the military, did you have any experience with firearms?
No. Yeah,
No.
other than shooting squirrels with BB guns in the woods and whatever else, you know what kids do as you grow up.
Well, the rifle team and drill team and ROTC.
That's right. Yeah, a little tiny bit.
A little bit of that, but I mean, pellet rifles against a metal garage door is
A little different
than M16 at 300 yards.
That's true. Or
Is it
500
yards.
5 for a Marine
Yeah.
Corps,
Sorry.
yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Push that envelope a little
Yeah, I
bit.
know, right? It's 500 there,
Is it
buddy.
a pizza box?
Yep. So your family has had experience in business, but what about you? Like, I know that you have a lot of you have some pastors in your family, and you have some other business owners, right, in your family.
Yeah, my dad actually had his own plumbing business.
Yeah.
for
So
most of my life. Yeah.
Okay. And so did that encourage you into building your own business, or
Not
did you
even a
have
little.
any other business experience? or-
No, not even a little.
Okay.
So I worked with another company for a little while, and the way that was going wasn't what I had agreed with and what I thought was going to be happening. So then when I was parting ways with that company, my wife looked at me and was like, why don't you just start your own?
Hey, wow.
And then I was talking to you about stuff,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to figure some things out, and you're like, why don't you just start your own? I'm like, well, how do you do that? And you're like, well, I'll show you what I did.
That's half the battle right there for
Yeah.
your wife to say, "Hey, you should do this."
Yep.
You know, instead of
Yeah.
having to convince her, "Hey, I want to do this." Like that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It is pretty
support.
nice, but she does get a little tired of the hours.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure you're well aware.
Yeah, man.
How many
it's
hours
hard.
you put into
Yeah.
a small business.
like, Josh is at home all the time, putting in so much work.
Yeah,
you
what
know,
time is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he could.
We're doing this
Yeah,
right now.
Exactly. We could all be at home, with our kids and
Well, technically, I am home with my kids.
yeah. Yeah, if you guys didn't catch that, we were actually at Josh's
Undisclosed location.
Gun Monkey's Armory lair. Or Gun Monkey's Nation lair. Sorry.
You can take all that hat, put that one on.
Yeah, no, I can't remember.
So tell us about your Marine Corps career.
Oh man. Well,
Starting with year 0.
year
Yeah.
0. I was 17 years old. Oh wow. So I wasn't even 18 when I made it.
It's like what, 40 years ago?
Yeah. No. No, but it's getting close. No, it's 1997 was when I joined the Marine Corps in August. So I got to spend the summer essentially working. All right, but then I went right into the Marine Corps. Turned 18 in the School of Infantry down at Camp Lejeune.
Wow, man.
Holy cow! So that was an interesting experience. Man, 20. What do you say about 20 years? I've been doing a lot of stuff. So I was in the infantry, and that was
Was
The
that your
entire
a
first,
Right.
challenge.
Was that your first choice? Like, that's what I want to
You
do.
know, when I was in the recruiters, I actually wanted to be either in food service or I wanted to be a photographer.
You see, so
of
did you not
course-
qualify for the
No.
to see over
here's what happened. What happened was the recruiter's like, sorry, man, we don't have any of those spots, but here's a video of Fast Company shooting
Oh,
the MP5
man.
in flight suits, and it's like that's
Yeah.
all these guys do.
Oh yeah,
And it
high
was
speed,
like,
low drag.
Do you like camping? I said yes. Do you like hiking? I said yes.
So you'll love
Do you
29
like
Palms.
hanging out with your friends?
For real?
Sure enough. Yeah, no kidding.
No way,
kidding.
man.
So
That's-
yeah,
that's
I signed up to be in Fast Company, the anti-terrorism unit.
Yep.
Not even really knowing what it is. Just so you know, the recruiter says, just so you know, you got to go through the School of Infantry first.
Oh, of
and
course,
then
yeah.
you'll be
Because
able to
every
go.
Marine's a rifleman.
There you
So
go.
yeah, I got it. Yeah, I heard
So
all
I
that.
was a basic rifleman, 0311. Went through the school, graduated the school, went to security force school, and of course, when you're showing up in boot camp and you're like, "Who's the security force guys?" and they're like, "Infantry." Just so you know, you only get 2 years at the Fast Company or anywhere in security forces, and then you go back to the fleet as an infantryman.
Wow.
So that was an interesting time. 2 years in Fast Company, then went back to the infantry.
Yeah.
I went to 1-8 after that. So first, for those people that don't know, 1st Battalion, 8th Marines in Camp Lejeune. Went
Wow,
back
man.
to the Balkans. So I was in the Balkans with Fast Company, and then I went back again with 1-8. like a year and a half later.
Wow, man.
And that was interesting. And then after that, you just start the rotation. I went to Quantico, and then I was a CQB instructor before I went to Quantico. So I taught basically the SWAT team stuff for the Marine Corps. And then I went and taught lieutenants.
I kind of know something about that.
Fleet. You know a little bit about that?
Yeah, I know a little bit about that.
Yeah. So that was cool.
Yeah.
Back to the fleet again, 1-2, then 3-3. And then I tried to retire early at 17 and a half years. And they said, no.
Yeah.
How
old were you then?
I don't know. No idea.
Like, dude, you know you're only like 30?
Yeah, I was probably like 35, 36, somewhere in there. Yeah.
Like,
Definitely
not
told me no,
today.
though. Not only no, but you got to re-enlist. And oh, by the way, you have orders to 29 Palms.
Oh, man.
So then I spent my last tour at 29 Palms. I was pretty disgruntled when I got there. I mean, you leave Hawaii. I was in Hawaii.
How long were you there?
Hawaii. I was in Hawaii for about 4 years, maybe a little bit
I'd
longer.
be kind of.
My wife would tell you. I don't
too,
remember.
Man.
What's that?
I said I'd be kind of pissed too. I was in San Diego, man. I couldn't have asked for a better duty station.
But if you go 3 hours inland.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He also moved back to Maryland, so.
We
both did.
all.
We all did. You never left.
No, I never left.
Yeah, that one deployment to King George. That
Yeah.
So, what did you do firearm-wise in the military?
Well, being in the infantry,
it's kind of like
it's kind of your
weapons
job,
are your religion.
Right? So, well, as a basic rifleman, you don't get exposed to a whole lot, and by a whole lot, I mean the entire arsenal of whatever.
Oh,
but
yeah.
While I was in the anti-terrorism unit, we were responsible for being able to employ mortars and machine guns and basically everything the infantry had to offer anyway.
Right.
So I had a basic background on all that stuff, but I really didn't start actually developing as somebody that can help other people with it until I went back as a close quarters battle instructor. So I got into the CQB section, and that's where I started learning how to take what I knew and convert that into something that somebody who didn't know a whole lot could take from and go, okay, now I get it. And then when I started doing that and seeing the light bulb go off in somebody's head when you're trying to explain something, it was like, wow, this is cool. Like, I didn't know that was a thing. You just figure you explain something to somebody and they go do it. And that's not how it is. No, right? No. You really got to have a couple of tricks to throw out there to see which one takes. That's the way it ends up going.
Yeah, part of the learning experience is getting that personal experience from the instructors too. I mean, I know in our CQB school all the way till I went to paramedic school, we really fed off of those the stories and the personal instruction from the instructors. They were able to put not only their 2 cents but like their heart and soul into it, plus their life experiences. Right. And you learn better when you have an instructor that has that passion and those life experiences into in their training. Yeah, when they do that.
Absolutely. It lends itself to a little bit of a credibility. Now, there's something else that's goes along with that. There are people out there that will give you their resume as they're trying to explain to you why you need to listen to me because I've done all this stuff.
Right.
I don't really do a whole lot of that, so it's kind of difficult for me to talk about okay, here's where I've been and here's what I've done. I don't really care so much about that. When I explain stuff to people, I want them to, as they hear it, go, well, yeah, of course. Why wouldn't you do it that way? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the goal as I'm teaching other people. I want them to, when I'm like, does that make sense to you?
You start listing certs and what you've done in your classes, people think you're speaking a foreign language,
Right.
And
right. Or it's like, oh, this guy's full of himself.
Yep.
And
I'm impressed.
Yeah. Ooh, big deal.
This guy.
Yep.
Well, that's it. No.
Yeah.
All right.
Appreciate everybody coming out tonight.
So you, you got out of the military and were you looking for jobs and you're like, I want to do something firearm related, or you were just kind of looking for anything?
I always thought it would be cool. Like when I end up in a job where I'm teaching other people and I'm looking around and I'm hanging out with the other instructors and stuff, like even in 29 Palms, like you figure that's a terrible, terrible place. Middle of the Mojave Desert. It's kind of miserable. There's not a whole lot else to do but train out there, right? But as you're hanging out with other people, and I was I was really disgruntled when I got. I said that right. I was really disgruntled when I got there.
Yeah.
One day I was sitting on a rock, and the
how
sun's
did you feel when you got there?
I was pretty disgruntled.
And for the people in the back,
Just in case you hadn't heard, I was pretty disgruntled when I got. But I was sitting on a rock one day. Like on a rock? Oh, that's what you do. You sit on a rock because that's all there is out there. Anyway, the sun was setting, and
If
there's
you've never been
tanks
to the Rockies, that's why.
coming over the horizon, and there's like jets strafing targets, and there's guys assaulting the objective and all kinds of stuff. And I'm looking around and I'm going, you know what? When I was 8 years old, this is exactly what I thought being in the Marine Corps was going to be like. And from about then on, I was like, I need to quit being disgruntled.
Yeah.
So as you're sitting around with other people and you're talking to other instructors about this stuff, you're like, you know what? This would be a cool job if I could do this, but not get told what to do all the time. Like I could pick how I want to train people, and I could pick like I want these things to be really important in the curriculum and things like that. So as I got out, I started to really take a look at what do I want to do? I think that'd be an awesome job. So I started applying to the sheriff's office and, places like that. And most places were like, well, if you're not, a sworn officer, or you haven't served as a law enforcement officer, like as a civilian law enforcement officer, then sorry, man, we'd love to have you. Your resume's awesome, but we can't make it happen.
So for the people that don't know about 29 Palms, it's a military base where they actually teach the Marines like warfare, right? I mean, you get to kick doors in, call in air support. It's literally a staged live warfare. Right?
Yeah, it's just 900 and some odd square miles of impact area. So you can attack whatever you want. And where the bombs are blowing up, right after that, you're walking right in that area to take that ground. Just like you would do it for real.
We get a lot of people here, Marines talking about 29 Palms, but people don't actually
understand what it is.
Like 29 Palms sucks. Yeah, we get it, but that's where Marines learn how to actually work as a team with everybody.
So all kinds of units from all across the Marine Corps all come together for what they're calling right now a combined arms exercise, CAX. So some of the old guys that have been around a little while, they know about CAX. And the name's changed a few times over the years, right? But combined arms exercise is really what it is. So you get to figure out how to work with aircraft and artillery, and everything gets the basic infantryman that much closer to the objective in one piece, if that makes sense. So we actually started up the Urban Warfare Training Center out there, and I dusted off the books I had written from 2006 when we started it up the first time. And then it kind of went away as we went into Afghanistan, and then come time for me to go back out there around 2000, forgive me for not remembering, 2014 or so. Anyway, I got back out there again, and they're like, well, we need to start this up again. And they dust off the books, and I see my writing in there and going, I don't know how that thing got approved. What's going on? Like, who let that fly? Like, oh, my gosh. Anyway, so, we started that stuff back up. And the Urban Warfare Training Center was really a great, great time. I got to mentor a lot of good Marine officers, a lot of good Marine enlisted on how to conduct attacks in urban areas. So all the stuff that I had kind of accumulated over the course of 17 and a half years, when I finally got there and they started this thing back up again, I got to put all of that into play and then develop the curriculum and all that kind of stuff. And it was like, wow, this is kind of cool. I wish I could just do this, but not be in the military anymore. So when retirement came, I was like, yep, I'm ready.
There it is.
Skip forward 5 years and back to FTI.
Back to doing it again.
So what does FTI offer?
So Firearms Training Incorporated, essentially, our bread and butter essentially is Maryland's handgun permits. So we do Maryland permits and we do DC permits, and that's really where the bulk of our instruction is right now, because that's where the most demand is here in the state, because the state requires residents to get a permit to purchase and a permit to carry, and they're two different things.
Commies.
But that's what most people want right now, and that's what we're offering. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And so you offer your DC class, which is your DC permit to carry, and your Maryland permit to carry.
Yep.
And what is this HQL?
So HQL,
I hear people talking about
the QH.
People have been around a while, still ask like, what is it?
What is HQL?
It stands for Handgun Qualification License. So you have to be qualified to get a license, to get just like a driver's license, except for firearms.
Yeah.
That makes sense,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
So walk us through the HQL course. Like, what does it involve?
So essentially, we meet all the Maryland's requirements, right? So you got to have all the Maryland applicable firearms law, home safety. You got to be able to safely fire a handgun, all that kind of stuff.
And this
Also,
isn't like top secret. This is a
No.
checklist that Maryland requires.
Right, yeah. So if you go on there, yeah.
you actually have to build the class yourself. And
Yes. So one of the most frustrating things for me in coming into this business and going, okay, Maryland, okay, DC, what do I need to teach? And they're like, all the applicable laws and home safety and use of force and make sure they can shoot. And here's a qual course, right? So I'm looking at this going, well, okay, so what are the applicable laws? And like,
that's your
you
job.
figure it out. You're the instructor. You
Yeah.
tell us. You got to be kidding me.
No,
So yeah,
that's
sounds
literally
about
what
right.
that's what they said.
pretty
Yeah.
much. So for DC, it was a little bit more involved than Maryland. I actually had to submit a curriculum, a syllabus, to Metropolitan Police Department in DC, and they had to look at it and say, "Yep, that's good." And what do you think I put in there for the DC law that I was going to teach? All applicable laws.
Yeah.
And that's what they ended up approving. So
wasn't ready
it
for
was
the
one of
test.
those things where I did a lot of reading, and I still do. I like
Oh, yeah.
before every course, I go back through everything. Okay, is there anything new? Is there anything I missed? Is there anything that, in my experience now, I'm starting to see that applies a little bit differently? Or if I hear about a new case that just went through, or somebody got arrested for this, and then I dig back in and look at it again.
And not only that, but people think that, okay, the laws only go into effect once a year, right? So you only have to update your class once a year, which is not true, because the actual local police department, which would be Maryland State Police, or it would be MPD, Metropolitan Police Department, they can change their interpretation of what the
Right.
legislators pass
Yep.
at any time.
Yep.
So I know in the firearms industry, like they love changing their interpretation all the time, and we always have to deal with that at the shop, working online, and I can only assume that you have to adjust your classes accordingly as well when
Yep.
when that comes forth.
And it's not like DC Metro is actually fairly good. When they have something that kind of changes, there's a particular officer that emails all the training guys, like all
Okay.
the
Wow, that's
instructors that
good,
are
yeah.
certified. We won't talk about that necessarily right now. But every now and then I'll get an email like, hey, due to recent events, we don't want to see this anymore. And then make sure you tell your students this. So that's kind of a cool thing. But Maryland
Yeah.
State Police don't typically do that. They just change their policy, and
Right, yeah.
we hear about it through the grapevine, and then I have to call licensing division and confirm it, or look it up online and find something in writing.
Leave 10 voicemails to Maryland State Police and never hear back from them. Yeah, that goes. That's a shout out to you guys.
You should get a FFL, and then you can just log in and ask them
Yeah,
online.
yeah, that's
The
yeah.
live
But
chat.
they, when I ask them HQL questions, they're like, nope, leave this guy a voicemail for the HQL department, and I've never heard back from them.
Right.
I mean, from training to HQL questions.
During business hours, they're pretty good about answering the phone, and a lot of times what you'll get is, oh, let me ask the lieutenant.
Yeah,
Can you hold on? And then they ask the lieutenant. But
Like, I don't know. Just tell them this.
for me, I want it in writing. I want to
Oh, of
see
course,
it.
yeah.
Here's
And
where it is. Here's our
that's-
policy.
That's what's great about, like you were talking about. MSP has the live chat where we actually speak to a trooper from the licensing
Yep.
division, and we can print it up and save it, and they archive all the conversations. So we get, we
so
get
there's some
pretty-
evidence to
Oh,
say,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
we got told this, and this is why we're operating
because
this way.
I mean, it's just crazy. How someone can tell you one thing, and then someone else will tell you another thing, because it's there's no written. This is what this means. This is what you need to do. It's like
Oh,
you
yeah.
said, it's open.
Their
up for
interpretations
Yeah.
are
Right.
all in different locations.
Yep.
Like, you can go to find the law, you can go to LexisNexis, that you have the links on your website,
Yes.
which is amazing. I don't think any other, firearms training company or gun shop has ever posted, free access to actual, so you can read and, get all that information, which is amazing on your website.
Yeah.
I go there all the time. And I show,
You really?
I go there all the time. I show customers. I pull it up, and it's actually on one of my favorites on
good,
on the computer.
good.
So,
We're looking at that.
Oh, it's
yeah.
fine.
That's good. Okay, just checking.
Yeah, and yeah, it just threw me off. I lost.
You go to the website, you show customers.
Oh
you
yeah,
go
yeah,
log
yeah,
in,
yeah, and they can do their own investigation, and I don't think I've ever seen that with any other
Right.
company. Having that intel, because it's out there.
Yeah.
It's just now you have a way to show your customers where it's at, so they don't have to go
Absolutely.
searching, because it's not easy.
One of the biggest things in the classes that I really stress is, what have we all heard about transportation of firearms in
Oh,
Maryland?
God.
Oh yeah.
It's like
And we've all
4
heard
different
things, right?
interpretations.
But the law only says one thing, right?
Right,
So
yeah.
now,
Yeah.
granted, there's state law and federal law
yeah.
and things along those
Yeah.
lines, but we talk about all that stuff during class
Yeah.
and make sure that, one, everybody understands it, and two, they can go and read it for themselves, and then they know that I'm not just saying what I heard from some other random
Yeah.
guy.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's great. Like, I mean, because it just in the nitty gritty, like, there's the Firearm Transportation Act, the federal act, which is completely different than what the Maryland law is.
Yep.
That's written by the legislators and passed in Annapolis,
Mm-hmm.
and then Maryland State Police has their own interpretation of that.
Right.
So, you could be following one which might not be in accordance to the other one, and it can be confusing. So,
Yep.
And I know, like, not everybody needs an HQL, but when someone comes to me and be like, oh, I'm looking to buy a firearm, first thing we usually ask is, do you have your HQL? And, there are exemptions, with the hunter safety course or purchasing a handgun prior to 2013. But I always encourage people, like, it's a class you should take just
Right.
based off the law.
Yeah.
So those are
Knowing.
and those are training exemptions. So that's
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
That's the big difference between the training exemptions and
Yeah, they don't
the
have
actual
to, they don't have
HQL
to do
exemption,
the
because
training.
Right.
They still have to get an HQL, but they don't have to go to a class.
we get people all the time that say, "Oh, I'm a veteran. I was told I don't need an HQL," and I'm like, "Whoa."
Yep.
Somebody lied to you. Second of all, you probably do need to take this class now so you could get the laws. And with somebody like that you were saying, that's actually HQL training exempt,
Yeah.
which is because that's a whole nother thing, filling out the applications. We always recommend that everybody takes the class with Firearms Training Incorporated, because FTI offers 50% off of this class if you take the HQL class, and you don't need the certificate, because we want to encourage people to take this class
Yeah.
because you have such
That
an
knowledge.
in-depth portion of Maryland law. And that's really important, because if you have the hunter safety class, yes, they taught you about hunting laws and they taught you about rifle safety. You're getting a handgun. They literally didn't tell you jack shit about a handgun in your hunter safety class.
Well, and like people will come in and they'll quote a law and be like, "Yeah, that was true 20 years ago."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like the integrated mechanical safety device. They're like, "Oh, well, when did that law get passed?" Yeah, 2002. Sorry,
Right.
guys.
Yep.
Sorry, you weren't properly educated.
I added that in, by the way, to the slideshow. So
Yeah,
I have
yeah, I
a
know.
slide that reminds me
There
to
you
make
go.
sure we talk about the difference between stuff manufactured in 2002 and then 2003 and beyond.
Yep. Yeah.
It's super confusing.
So that really, I got a blue ID card from the military. It says I don't need an HQL at all. But
So
when
that
I
would
got
be-
out
yep.
and I bought my first handgun, actually from you, when I got back to Maryland, and then I started going, well, I have no idea what the law actually says and what's going on with this stuff. And then I realized, well, yeah, I got some experience with firearms, but I have no idea how to stay out of jail.
Yeah.
I might want to look this stuff up.
So, what do you think people lack the most when they come to your class, when it comes to like knowledge of firearms, or just talking to somebody that maybe has taken your class a year ago? So, what are people missing? Because we've discussed there's a certain percentage of information that you can only intake when somebody sits down at this HQL class and they don't know anything about the class. They don't know anything about handguns. It's 100% of this information they need to know because they don't know it. What are they missing? What's all? I know there's an equation that you discuss, and but what are these people missing? What are they lacking?
It's really the bottom. Man, that's a loaded question. Really, the
Yeah.
bottom line, I would say, most people show up with absolutely no solid knowledge of what the law actually says. So that's a huge, huge deal. But the main thing that I try and impart on everybody is, where to go to get the information. Not just about the law, but where to go to get information about how to hold the gun or how to shoot the gun, how to line up the sights. All of that stuff, you're really only going to retain about 25% of what you actually get in any class. So what do you do after that? You need to know where to
YouTube.
go to get. Yeah, go to YouTube.
Yeah.
Buyer beware on YouTube.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. So you get what you get what you pay for a lot of times. All right, but the bottom line is you need to know where you need to go to get good information.
Yeah,
And if you don't get anything else out of class, and where to go to get information on the law, where to go to get good information on how to shoot, where to go to get good information on use of force, deadly force, and what are the legal ramifications if you have to use your gun in self-defense.
we talk about how in the shop when I talk to customers that have taken your class, and it might have been 6 months since they've taken it, and they haven't done any research, they haven't done any training, and they're finally coming in to buy a gun. And I actually recommend that, hey, maybe you should take the class again. You don't need the certificate; it's half the price. Take the class again so you can maybe pick up some stuff that you forgot or that you didn't pick up in the class beforehand, because they just come in and then they're like, well, I don't want to take the class again. This is a tool that you're going to be using to keep your family safe.
Yep.
You can't spend $1,000 on a handgun and $5 on training. We make jokes about that all the time.
Right.
We see guys. I saw guys in Richmond and wearing $10,000 worth of gear, and we joke $10,000 worth of gear and $10 worth of training. It's you gotta stay up on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that you've been looking into continuing ed and stuff, and Aaron Colby is only one man, so I understand that. But taking the class again, you're gonna pick up some more of that 75% you didn't.
It's like
retain.
you said, you could take it every 6 to 12 months, and there's going to be a change somewhere.
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah.
And you don't even necessarily, I hate to say, you don't need to take the class again, but there's other ways to do stuff as well, right?
Yeah.
So at half price, you could get some individual training with me and just have me sit down with you and have a conversation, go out and shoot or whatever you need the most work on, and I'm there and at your disposal if that makes sense.
That's what I love about how the way that you've done with your company is you've also been able to put out that one-on-one training. I saw that this weekend, and after your classes, you set that time aside so you can have students come back and do the one-on-one training, because that's important.
Yeah.
That follow up with the customers and your students and getting that extra training, because that's important.
Yeah, I like how you put the $10,000 in gear and $10 in training.
Yeah.
So John, right? Works here in the county.
Oh,
EMS
yeah.
John.
So
we offer Stop the Bleed as well, right?
Right,
And we always talk about, you spend all this money on extra magazines. Where's your tourniquet?
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
It's kind of
I don't
important.
read it. He might.
So for the price of a Glock magazine,
Right.
You can get a tourniquet.
Yep.
Well, there's a huge disconnect when it comes to safety.
Yeah.
And it comes to home defense and personal defense. There is two things that you need to spend the time and money in training, and that is the defense and offense, and then after the fact, whether or not something happens to you or one of your loved ones. Okay. First off, we always say, well, we want to carry a gun because I can't carry a cop in my pocket. Well, you can't carry a paramedic in your pocket either.
That's absolutely true.
So why don't you spend the money, spend the time, and do some first aid training?
Yeah.
Because there's rounds going off, and somebody's going to get hurt, whether it's somebody that you care about, somebody that you don't care about. And as human beings, we want to take care of the people that are injured. Whether it's with firearms, and you can use that training that you guys offer in your classes, the Stop the Bleed. You can use that in any incident. I rolled up and I was in Georgetown, and some kid got in a fight, and I used my first aid training in helping him out. So, it's that $10,000 worth of gear and $5 worth of training again. Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not one of those guys that rest on my laurels. Like, I've had a lot of training over the last 20 years, and I've been through a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Civilian courses, and I could name the multi-letter
acronyms.
agencies and acronyms and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is I'm not stopping. right? So
Right.
I'm still taking other training. I'm still
Yeah.
2 or 3 courses a year I try and take. And I'm actually working now with another group of instructors and gaining all kinds of stuff. Gleaning is the word I was looking for. I'm gleaning all kinds of information from them as well. And they've got tons more years than I do. So learning from people that have gone before you is a huge thing, and keeping up with new trends. So it's important that your trainers, whoever they are continuing their education.
Oh yeah.
Because you can't
Oh,
just
yeah.
go, well, that's the way I learned it, so that's the way it is. It's the wrong answer. You've really got to keep pushing and keep going and combining the best things. So really, I like to take, I like to say instructors really should be like a funnel. You take all this information, you kind of narrow it down to what does this student need right now?
Well, it's,
What are they going to benefit from the most?
like I see it as like, you know, you look at the Olympics and athletes. Like there's a reason why athletes are getting better and better and better as time goes on, because they're not just sticking with what they've been taught.
Got it.
They're learning new
Yep. Right.
tactics and just little changes here and there that just make you better.
Yep.
Yeah. That's pretty important. I was looking at the time. I
I don't know.
I got
it in my hand.
I spent a lot of money on these eyes, man. I couldn't see the. I looked back over there and just lost track of what we were
Yep.
doing.
So,
So-
okay,
Yeah.
no, you go.
You go.
You hang up.
So what you've been training a lot of people. You've been training people, for the past 20 some odd years.
Yeah.
What's the hardest thing to correct when you're training somebody on how to shoot a handgun?
Like if someone comes in and be like, I've been doing this for the last 20 years. I just need the stupid paper so I can go buy a handgun.
Yeah. And then you're like, well,
As soon as you started talking, what's the hardest thing? And right as soon as you said that, in my head, I'm like, attitude.
and that's
Somebody that's not willing to learn that's the hardest hurdle for an instructor to really overcome, is to break down that barrier and go, okay, we all have something to learn.
right.
You might only
You
learn
can't-
one new thing
you
from me,
can't-
but the bottom line is you're going to learn something new. And that's really, really important.
You gotta every day in your life you have to be willing to accept something new.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to say, be progressive in your life. All I'm saying is that there's always somebody that's doing what you're doing better.
Yep.
And that can give you pointers. And you have to be humble. You have to understand that you coming into an HQL class, obviously you're not a professional shooter. Because this is 2020. The class has been available for the last 8 years. Okay. So if you're just now
took a
doing
hiatus.
it, then you are behind the curve. But I understand there's
Yeah.
people that are just want to get into it and stuff like that. But you can't just come to class now and say, oh, I know what I'm doing. There's stuff that you're not going to know. And I have yet to find somebody that comes from your class to say, I learned so that, I have yet to find somebody that didn't say that I learned so much from Aaron's class. I had no idea that's what the laws were. I mean, from the possession of high capacity magazines to even owning an AK-47, and people still to this day, think that things are banned or I didn't know civilians could own stuff like that, or he taught me he taught me how to come into a gun shop. And that's the biggest thing, too, is when people come into the shop and they say, oh, well, I want this, and they don't have their HQL. I say, well, before I even show you anything, let's talk about you taking some training, because Aaron's class will prepare you to come into a gun shop.
Yep.
So that's what's important for us on our end in your class.
A lot of
Very
people.
well put.
A lot of people end up asking, like, "Well, what should I get? I'm a new person. I'm new to this thing. What's a good gun to
A
get?"
Glock. Everyone needs a Glock.
Yeah.
Everyone needs a Glock. But to learn how to ask the right questions is kind of important.
Yeah.
What would you
So-
say your teaching style is?
Oh,
Because I know you have a lot of PowerPoints, so that's
right.
Well, that's everybody has a lot of PowerPoints.
Yeah, it shouldn't be something that scares you.
But like you try to overcome it.
Right. So the idea, the PowerPoints that I have typically are just a cue of something to talk about, if that makes sense. So I try and have a very informal style of lecture, if that everybody's understanding how that works, right? So there's different teaching styles and there's different things, right?
Yeah.
So I can have a straight lecture where I'm like a college professor. I'm going to give you the information and you're going to take it or you're not. All right. I typically try and have more of a conversation with the people in the room, and in that way one, it gets a little more tailored to the individual because
Right.
you have specific questions. I want them answered.
Yeah.
You're already
Oh, yeah.
paying money to be there, right? Get your money's worth.
Yeah, I appreciate that there's no death by PowerPoint. It's
Right.
so much information, and it's a lot of information in the 4 to 5 hours that you're teaching
Yep.
the class, but it's still not death by PowerPoint.
Yeah.
And God knows I've been through a million classes where the instructor is the instructor and all he's doing is reading what's on the PowerPoint.
Right.
And that's annoying. It's like you could have just sent me a freaking email and I didn't have to
And I
spend
could just read it
and I
and be
read
done.
it and be done with it.
Yep.
Right. But your class is so much more than that, and that's I love that.
I'm glad, man.
Yeah, man.
I have a lot of pictures.
Yeah.
Pictures
You do have
are
a
worth
lot
1,000
yeah,
words.
you
so
have a
as
lot of pictures.
much
but,
information as we
but
give.
you'll put up what's on the PowerPoint, but then you'll just start talking and training and teaching,
Yeah.
and they have that PowerPoint up there for reference of what you're going over,
Yep.
and that's what that's for. You know,
Yeah.
it's supposed to be a guide, not what you teach.
It's just an illustration to kind of
Exactly.
help
Yeah.
explain the point a little bit, and that's really all it is.
So I hear we might have some questions from some fans.
I wouldn't say fans.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Now I'm scared.
This is from Matthew. He sent 5 questions.
Wow, Matthew.
Yeah, he's
You should probably come to class.
the more you know.
I know, right?
The first one is how long does it take in the morning to get your beard so sexy?
Oh, wow. Is my beard sexy? That's the real question.
Well, I mean, you got the nice gray going on, and you keep it well maintained.
Oh, I'm
It's
glad.
not
I'm
just-
glad.
It's not
Actually, this is all natural. All natural. Now, I did have. You guys remember? I had
yeah.
it significantly longer than this.
Everybody that was watching the video that cut out, everybody that saw the first part of the video is probably like, "Who's the little guy in the back?" He is not the same picture that Josh posted on the
it's all about angles.
on the photo of the ad that you put to Gun Monkeys Nation's
Yeah.
Facebook page, because that picture had your full beard.
was a little-
It was
little
when
longer.
it was like, yeah, it was.
Well,
definitely
it's
there.
funny because I was going through your photos, and I saw all
Hey,
these photos of
whoa.
you with no beard. I'm like, I don't want those because
Nobody would recognize me.
Yeah.
I look like I'm 12.
Oh yeah, the ones with you're as a gunny,
Yep.
yeah.
and you have all these privates standing above you, and you look like you're.
No, there was one where I don't know what you were getting an award or some kind of recognition or something, and they were handing it to you,
handing it down.
Look it down.
and you were looking at it and they're like, "Thank you, sir."
Oh, thanks, Dad.
He said, another question: what's the dumbest thing someone's done in a gun training class? Which I'm sure you've seen a lot of flagging and
Well, there's always that. So that you got to
Flagging,
take
finger
you got to
on the
take with
trigger.
it the level. You got to meet people where they are, right? So I won't ever fault somebody for doing something that they just don't know any better, or it takes a minute to kick in.
Yeah.
Right. So really, the dumbest thing I've probably seen anybody do is tell me they don't have anything to learn. Right. I had a class where a guy came with his spouse, and he's like, I can understand, she's here to learn and that kind of thing, but I was in Desert Storm. What are you going to teach me about a pistol? And for those of us, you know how the military is, right?
Oh,
You got
yeah.
all kinds,
Oh.
and it doesn't matter who you are, you still have something to learn.
Oh yeah.
And there's people that are in the military or have been in the military that never touch guns. So if you're asking that question, you probably already know you don't know a whole lot. You're just kind of putting up that front to show.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's people that spent 20 years in the military, never qualified. They shot maybe in boot camp,
Right.
And even obviously, both of our jobs were a little different, where we were able to be certified, qualified on the M9.
Mm-hmm.
There are people that never saw or touched an M9, even in the infantry. Because that was more of a staff firearm.
Right.
So yeah. Any other questions from old Matt?
Yes,
Yeah.
Matthew. What else do you have?
This one, what is your EDC?
My
Oh,
EDC.
yeah, your
So,
EDC.
And for layman terms,
What you packing?
your everyday carry.
everyday carry.
What you packing?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I came from another a contract that I'm working right now, and I came home and I'm changing to come here, and I do the pocket dump. I'm going, holy cow! This
Man,
is
I
a
had
lot
so
of
many mags.
stuff. But if you're asking what do I carry right now, right now I carry a Sig P365, but I've tweaked it a little bit, right? So I got the
a little customization,
just a little bit.
Yeah.
So they came right after I bought the thing, right? They came out with the 365 XL. So what does it stand for?
Extra
long?
large.
extra large.
All right, so the back strap of this pistol goes all the way down your hand. So when you need to do a magazine change, it's able to just drop freely.
Yeah.
So I took the slide and all the
Don't
guts
stop.
out of the P365 and put it on the XL frame. And that's now what I'm carrying because
And it has a
short slide.
bigger beaver tail as well.
It does,
Yeah,
actually.
little bit longer beaver tail. Flared magazine well as well.
I love it when
And,
you talk customization.
Yeah, a little customization. Yeah. Actually, we when the 365 XL was first released, we got one in the shop, and me and you just started playing with them, swapping parts on your 365, and we're like,
This is going to be perfect.
this is gonna be amazing.
Did we just become best friends?
Yeah.
So staying with this everyday carry, I'm sure you get this a lot. What do you, as a firearms instructor, someone who's been around firearms, carried them, what do you recommend for people when they're trying to decide, oh, what gun should I carry?
So that's kind of pardon the bad pun again, but that's kind of a loaded question. All right. Dun-dun-dun. So what do I recommend?
Yes.
Something you can hit the target with, and something you're going to carry every single day.
Yeah.
You can buy whatever you want to, the newest, fanciest, high speed, high tech, whatever. But if you don't carry it with you, it's not going to do you any good. And if you can't hit the target, it's not going to do you any good. And if you don't like to actually go practice with it, it's not going to do you any good. So what I usually tell people is get the largest caliber you can, shoot effectively, and that you're willing to actually carry every single day. When you find the right combination of those things, then you found your EDC, your everyday carry.
Yeah,
Throwing the air quotes for Josh.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So all the people watching.
You have anything to add to that, Anthony? Because I know what you carry every day, and that's like,
Yeah.
I would never, me personally.
So I used to carry a Bursa 380 Thunder Combat. I thought that was really cool when I first.
We all have one of those.
Yeah,
Not the Bursa, but one of those guns where
Yeah.
you're like, I
Yeah, I
carried
got-
that, but I'm not really proud to say it.
Yeah, and it got a little weathered, let's just say, and left it in a bad environment one night, and so I had to strip it all down, and I never put it back together, and I went back to my my trusty M9, and I was carrying that, and then got the 1911 compact, and I'm a fan of the heavy guns and big calibers, so I have the 9mm M9 that I'll carry, or my my 1911, and I love it, man. I got to tighten the belt up so it doesn't weigh me down, but it's a full size Springfield. It's a what about you, Josh? What's your EDC?
Well, it was the G2C.
Yeah, well,
But-
because that was free. But
Well, it was free, but then
it's some really cool
but
guy.
it
gave
goes
to him.
it goes back to what he was saying with what you can shoot accurately, and you want to carry every day. The G2C I'd like to carry every day because it's small, compact, double stack. It's comfortable, but when I shoot it, I don't shoot it as well as I do. I have a Smith & Wesson M&P, and I shoot that way better. And I've been thinking about making the switch, even though it's not as comfortable, but I can shoot a whole lot better with it.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I like the full size, 1911 and the M9. The M9 was the first gun I ever fired, the first handgun I ever fired. So I was comfortable with it, trained a lot with it. So I'm liking that one, but I'm waiting for the Hellcat to come out.
I thought you were going to say that you were going to get the Yeet cannon.
I'm waiting for the YC2 to come out. I'm waiting for the Hellcat to come out so I can get my hands on it. And if I don't like the Hellcat, it's either going to be
What about the MC1?
The MC1?
Mossberg?
No.
No?
Have you heard anything about the MC1 since it came out?
Well, no. I just
Nope,
saw it.
exactly. There's a reason. All right. But besides, Shield Arms makes the 15-round mag for the Glock 43X. And I sold my Glock 43 because I didn't like the trigger, but since then I've seen so many amazing aftermarket triggers. I'm probably going to end up getting a Glock 43X.
43X is something to look at.
Yeah.
I'm excited to put one in my hands. I don't know how it's going to turn out. But we talk about this stuff on day 2 of the class, right? So concealed carry course is 16 hours. So you got to come back for a second day, usually on a Sunday.
Oh my god!
And we talk a lot
him
about
again.
pros and cons on all of this
Yeah.
stuff. So when you talk about what do I carry, what don't I carry, pros and cons on, like, let's say the Taurus G2C versus a Smith & Wesson M&P Shield, you said?
Well, it's not the Shield, but it's the compact.
Okay.
With the full-size frame.
Magazine capacity.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
So if you're
A
only
single
able to
stab.
carry 8, but you could have been carrying 13 or 15
Right.
in a gun about the same size, and you might want to take another look and go, do I need only 8 or do I want some more just in case?
That's why the industry needed the Glock 43X and 48, the P365 XL,
Right.
and the Hellcat.
And there's
It's
a
'cause
reason why all these manufacturers are going to double stack.
Right,
You know,
yeah.
They're competing with each other and the demand.
It's kind of cool to see technology catching up with exactly what people are asking for. And
Yeah.
I'm excited to see all these new guns coming out.
Yeah,
Not because I want to shoot them, but because I want to shoot them.
everybody's always made these full-size guns and like, all right, let's make a magazine to fit it. And then now they're like, let's make a magazine that can fit the most amount of rounds and then build the smallest gun around that.
Right.
And that's where Glock, where Springfield and where SIG have been able to get above and beyond all the other manufacturers lately in the EDC.
I want that Glock 44 for my EDC.
Yeah, it'll blow up in your pocket.
Not only does it shoot bullets,
We're gonna bleep that out. It's what a
only
Glock
does-
stocking dealer.
not only does it shoot bullets, but it shoots firing pins too.
Oh, man. Just like any car that comes out, the 2020 cars coming out are going to
Never
have a
get
little...
the first model.
Don't
Yeah.
just wait
I mean,
just
yeah,
a little bit.
even
No matter how much I hate the handgun roster in Maryland, I'm like, that's like probably the one
I
only perk.
appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah, because you get all the kinks worked out before you're actually
Before you're
allowed to
actually
buy.
able to get it. Yeah.
I mean, even the SIG P365 had issues
Yeah.
with the trigger and with the sights.
the floating sights, yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So.
But I haven't had any issues, and it was kind of cool to do that individual training the other day. The young lady came out; she wanted to know about some stuff, put some guns in her hand. And she's like, "Can I try this one, and this one?" And then we went through the range. She got to shoot them all and go, "I like that, but I don't like that."
Yeah.
and we could kind of narrow down
yeah.
what she might want to get.
And you're never going to buy your perfect gun the first time. That's why.
Yeah. Definitely.
We
not.
all have that story, I'm sure.
Last question from Matthew.
All right, Matthew.
Who would win in a fight to the death? A silverback gorilla or a grizzly bear?
What kind of question?
I don't know, but I'm going with silverback just based off agility.
What was
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
What, silverback or a
Grizzly bear.
grizzly?
I think. Well, yeah, I'd say silverback.
He's got the speed.
Yeah, the speed, the agility. Even though the grizzly bears, homegrown, USA. But I mean, you can find a silverback in any U.S. Zoo. So yeah, that's close enough.
Hashtag
Close
Harambe.
Yeah.
Oh wait, you can't find it.
Somewhere around there.
I'd probably have to agree with you guys.
Yeah, silverback gorilla.
I think the
Good question. Good question,
The
Matt.
mental capacity might put it over the top.
Yeah.
He can use tools.
And just to let you guys
Oh
know,
yeah, it's got them
Like-
thumbs.
every time before we do a podcast on Facebook and Instagram, we put our email address, gunmonkeysnation@gmail.com, and you guys can send us questions for whoever our host is. And if you want to know who's going to win in a fight between two animals, we'll answer it. But
Yeah,
feel free to
yeah.
ask us anything. Quickly before we wrap this up, where can people contact you and sign up for classes and see what you have to offer and stuff like that?
That's a great question. So the website is www.ftigun.com.
That is a great website.
Yes, nice and simple.
We're working on it. We're always improving. We're always improving. Phone number is 413-338-7246. And then my email actually is the email for the company is admin@firearmstraininginc.com.
Yep. For the people that saw the first part of the video, we had
Technical
the
difficulty.
phone number, which is the same phone number he said. It was just 413-33 train.
That's easy
That's
to
true.
remember.
413-33 train.
Well, thanks for coming out here and spending an hour with us, just
Yeah, absolutely. It was a
talking
great
about
time.
you, your life, your business, and we love this guy. Like, we can stand behind anything that he has in his classes and anything like that. So I mean, there's no doubt in our mind, if you sign up for his class, you're going to learn something, and probably something you need to know.
And besides being a great instructor, you're a great person, and we're lucky to have you in our lives.
I'm gonna
I
start
appreciate
crying
it,
now.
Yeah, no, man. You are. Really, really good person, man. And glad we were able to meet up again
Absolutely.
later in life.
Absolutely.
And yeah, you too. You're all right, Josh.
Josh is okay.
He's